What if I told you the quietest people in the room are going to make the loudest impact in business? In 2025 is their year. Today I have with me is Amber, introvert BFF, because she's gonna help you break up with your fears and embrace and fall in love with your true and authentic self. Hello, Amber. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Amazing. Amber, what's one thing you wish introverts knew and that would totally change their perspective towards business, towards life, and how they see things in the world?
Introverts have amazing superpower strengths like active listening and empathy. And we've been told over and over that these are weaknesses, but that's not true. They are strengths that can change your business and change your energy levels in your life. And that is so key is to embrace each of your strengths and discover your own introvert strengths.
True, I agree to that. Amber, you have 7 years and more experience in this niche, empowering introverts, helping them with lead generation. I would like to know about your journey.
Yeah. So my journey started, like I said, 7 years ago in this space as had a newborn and a toddler. And I really figured out that all of my experience of like in the real world, I loved connecting with people. And that's where it was. It was just connecting and having conversations with people, and all of my skills that I had from doing corporate admin work transferred over to the online space and really niching down to, hey, I'm really good at talking to people, finding people to talk to, and the ways that you can talk to them that are not going to put them off and block you, and really to speak your mind in a way that feels good to you and that it's going to empower them to make decisions.
Were you always like that, or there was some turning point in your life where you realized that no, I have the superpower within me and I can deal with all types of people, and what's stopping me from not doing it?
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago, I've had a few aha moments, I would say. A few years ago, it was really deciding I was doing social media management. I was doing some lead gen, but I really, really love lead gen and engagement. And my coach at that time was like, why don't you only do that? And I was like, what do you mean only do lead generation engagement? And that's when it really hit me that I could just do one thing that I really love. And how many others out there are really wondering, can I just do that one thing? And the answer is yes. And then my other aha moment was when I decided to pivot into the coaching space, is really like, I have to embrace my strengths, my inner strengths. And I was at that point, my youngest was like 5. I was coming out of this blur of postpartum and really finding me and leaning more into me and embracing each piece of myself. And that was the other aha moment of, oh my gosh, I am really good at this. I can build on this even more and talk about this even more, because there are so many other people out there that are pretending to be extroverted, pretending to do all this, and they're struggling and they don't know why. And it's because they have not leaned into themselves and embraced all of the strengths that they already have.
Exactly, exactly. So, what's one advice you would like to give people who are caught up in, self doubt and fearing their true potential? People are even scared to experiment what they are capable of and what their heart desires.
Yeah, and it starts with you. And I always say we need to start with you, start with the self reflection aspect. Just sit in the quiet. And it's hard to sit in the quiet. It will be the hardest thing you will do, is to sit with yourself and listen to yourself. But the more you do it, the more you hear the more you can listen and take action after that. I have realized, and your nervous system will regulate as you're doing that. And that is really the key, is so many times we are living in this heightened state and we're unregulated. And when we get to that point, it's hard, you keep, whether it comes out in rage or whether in different emotions. And as a parent, I understood all of a sudden, I was like, oh boy, I need to take control of my own self, not only for my business and my clients and my audience, but for my family first. Once I did that, then business almost seemed to come easier. I knew what was going to happen next. I knew what I wanted to do, because you can sit with yourself, reflect on your body. How does it feel? Reflect on your emotions and your thoughts and clear them. And really, you have to sit in the quiet. And it could be for 30 seconds to start with, but work up to really understanding what you need every single day.
Exactly. And also, you just talked about nervous system and how important it is to understand our nervous system. And I would like to know how introverts' nervous system or body works differently than extroverts.
Yeah, so we definitely, as introverts, we recharge with ourselves. And many times we're good at self reflection. We are good at that, but we're not doing it intentionally. And when we can do it with more intention and understand, okay, well, it's not just that 5 a.m. club wake up that is going to help us. It is throughout the day that we need to recharge, because we just keep going back up when things come up. And so really understanding, okay, yeah, I do need some time in the morning, and I'm going to have my coffee. I'm going to read my book, journal, be intentional. And then maybe in the afternoon, I'm going to take time again to be intentional with recharging. And that's where it comes in, is really understanding your own body and your own self and going, when do I need to recharge and things. Like, I know today I have 3 or 4 calls booked. Okay, well, my day is full. When in between am I going to charge myself? How am I going to do this? And having booked time to recharge, but before doing things that take a lot of your energy.
So, energy management, you mean energy management is super important for introverts.
Mhm. It is. It is, because then we can balance and our schedules, and we can balance our energy, giving ourselves more freedom, really.
What are the common beliefs that introverts have, and how would you like to reframe those beliefs for them?
Yeah, I think a lot of times it goes into that we can't do outreach, like we can't reach out to people, we don't know how to talk to people, but that is farther from the truth. We can. We just don't like small talk. We like deeper conversations that go further, instead of how's the weather. We want more. And I think it's about understanding that and knowing how to change the conversation so that you can get what you want from it. And using those strengths that you have identified and really putting them into practice and putting them into use.
Are there some common qualities in introverts that make them the outliers in the society and increases their chances of success in business and leadership?
As introverts, forget that we are really good at listening, and we don't always need to speak out when we feel we need to interject in the conversation. Leaders really listen to each and every person and then formulate their thoughts and put it out there. And that's why introverts make really good leaders, is because we are listening to everyone and we are sitting back and observing and then saying, hey, this is what needs to get done and this is how it's going to get done. What are your thoughts on it? Because we love having that two-way conversation as well, most likely one-on-one or in a very small group.
Sure, I agree. Amber, I want to ask, why do so many introverts mistrust their own business style? And where does that come from? How did it all started?
I think introverts have this deep almost need because we don't like conflict. Many of us don't like conflict and we want to people please. And so we say yes to a lot of things when even though we know we shouldn't do it. And so it's really just we have to it always goes back to embracing those strengths and setting in those boundaries and understanding, okay, this aligns with my business, this aligns with where I need to go, or it's not going to. And understanding that other people's emotions don't need to reflect our own emotions. We can, because we are so empathetic at times that we just take in everyone else's emotions, but we really need to take a step back and honor our own selves first and stop putting others before self. And I think that's where introverts really we can struggle with because we put other people first. And so when we learn to put our business first, ourselves first, that's where momentum can really happen.
Exactly. We should prioritize our own self. I agree with you. And in addition to that, I also believe that this is the quality of introverts. They are compassionate naturally. They feel other people's pain. And that makes them, more successful business leaders because they know when to show limits to someone and when to give them freedom, when to give them support.
Yes, I agree with that too. We can really read between the lines with people and their emotions and give them the ability to continue to go forward. And that's why we love helping people and guiding people as introverts because we love to see other people succeed.
Exactly. So, Amber, I heard you talking about introvert types and you're so passionate about it. I believe self awareness, the key to self awareness is knowing, which type of person you are, what are your personality traits, and then making your life decisions accordingly. How important it is for them to understand their nature, their introvert type, and how it can guide them in making better decisions related to business, related to life, related to relationships.
Yeah, so there are four main introvert types that I have talked about previously. And so they're social, anxious, thinking, and restrained. And as always, you may have heard these before, but they may have been called something different. I'm going to briefly review each type so you can identify if you are one or you could be a mix of few depending on the situation that you're in. So the first one is we have social introverts. So they're not necessarily shy or antisocial. They're going to prefer smaller gatherings over large bustling crowds. So they prefer to spend time with small groups of people, but they still need that alone time to recharge, as all introverts do. But they love to hang out with their selective group of people and they want planned events. We don't like anything spontaneous over here. We like specific people and we know where we're going to go. The other one is anxious introverts. So they dive deeper into the emotional state of introversion. So, we, as an anxious introvert, you can often feel uneasy in social settings, even small ones. You're going to feel nervous of being around other people. You are going to replay different conversations in your head. You might feel highly self conscious. But this doesn't mean that it goes away either when you're alone. So here's the key. So if you are an anxious introvert, just know that you need to manage the emotional strain of anxiety. And it's okay to take time for yourself and rest. Another one is a thinking introvert. So they are very introspective. So they have thoughtful analysis. They're highly analytical and logical when they come to certain things, trust their own judgment a lot, and they pay attention to those smaller details that other people might miss along the way. So a lot of times thinking introverts are going to get lost in their own thoughts. Like they're going to be at the coffee shop gazing out the window in their own world, and they are perfectly content to do that. And you're going to find that energy in ideas and creativity. So just know that if you're thinking I'm a thinking introvert, I can get lost just in my own thoughts for quite a while. And lastly, we have the restrained introvert, or known as the reserved type. They take their time to warm up to new situations, to new people, starting their day, and they like to think before they speak or act, and they're often deliberate in what they are doing. So they're very cautious when making decisions, and they prefer having a routine and a predictable schedule. So think of it like a car that needs to warm up before hitting the road. Restrained introverts prefer a slower pace and may seem cautious or distant at first. So if you're a restrained introvert, you are going to value consistency, and you don't feel the need to rush into anything. You're going to make those decisions when you make them.
What I get from all of it is, all introverts have their unique qualities and, characteristics. And instead of fighting with them, if we just instead embrace those qualities, they can have a magnanimous impact on our business life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where you don't need to take these for weaknesses or, oh, this is how I am. No, you can embrace them and use them properly in your business and in your life to make an impact.
Exactly. Most often we worry, and I'm an ambivert. I don't call myself a true introvert. Yet I believe that many times we believe that if we stay silent, we will lag behind. But how would you reframe it? How would you like to tell your viewers and the people taking out their time for us to know that this silence can actually be the reason why people trust them more?
Yeah, so within the silence, we are listening, we are thinking, we are being creative. And when we do speak out of the silence, so much can happen with that. And we get to voice our opinion. And I think as introverts, we can get scared to speak when it's okay to do so. We can become unmuted and really lean into that. And the silences can be beautiful things that happen within conversations and within the space, because it allows us the space to think, it allows us the space just to be before the next stage happens.
True, and this silence gives you the power to understand the buyer's behavior and personality as well. Yeah. And that makes you even a better marketeer or salesperson or lead generalist, because buyers also have their own types. Some people just like cooperation, some are more analytical. So being an introvert gives you a power to come from an end where you know them and you can understand them and you can talk to them though they want to be having a conversation.
Absolutely. Because, yeah, there is so much correlation too between the buyer types and the introvert types, and really understanding those. And it helps you to be, like you said, a better marketer and a better leader when you can understand all of those aspects.
So, Amber, what are the 3 signs someone is unknowingly sabotaging their business by not honoring their introversion?
Um, it really depends on the person, but really you can tell that they feel uncomfortable doing certain things or they're forcing themselves to do things. Whether that's, for instance, everyone loves to jump on a good trend on reels, but many times that's not fit for an introvert. And so when we do that, then it's not going to come across the way that we want it to. It's not going to feel authentic and genuine when we're putting ourselves and pretending ourselves to be an extrovert. Another way is really not leaning into how we communicate. If we are, do we like to write? Do we like to voice note? How do we like to communicate? And not just small talk, really diving into questions to get to know people. And so when we hold ourselves back from getting to know people in a way that feels good to us, then that is sabotaging ourselves as well.
So now let's just jump on to the imposter syndrome. We all talk about it, but what it actually is, and how to overcome it as an introvert.
Yeah, so imposter syndrome comes in, it's there every day, whether or not we want it to be. But it's about honoring the boundaries that we put in and going, oh, we can't look at extroverts and say, well, why can't I have that? Because you can't do it the same way that they're doing it. You will burn out. You're going to use up all your energy and you will have nothing left. Many of us have done it. And so it goes back to embracing yourself and honoring your own energy and your own boundaries. So maybe that doesn't look like scrolling all the time, or maybe it's only using certain platforms for your business or communicating with clients in a specific way that works for you. You don't have to do business like everybody else. In fact, when you don't do business like everybody else, it works out better for you.
Extroverts get their energy from dopamine, and it's the reverse for introverts. The sudden spikes of dopamine and happy hormones make them even more anxious, cause anxiety, right?
Yeah.
So, how can introverts take out time in business? Why do they also take out time for your own self? My question is, how can they maintain a balance between the two?
Yeah, and it's just going and understanding how you work. Do you work better? Like, is your mind sharper? I am very much, my brain is going in the morning, so I will get my most work done in my business in the morning. Then I understand the afternoons. That is when I need to take the time for myself and going, when is that going to happen? And really looking at your schedule and understanding your time management so that you can block out that time. And also going, what are the different ways you can recharge? Is coloring or baking or walking? How are these things recharging you? Or reading, meditating? All of these things can recharge you. You need to find what is going to work for you and your business and your life. Because some days, maybe I don't get to recharge until 9 o'clock at night because I have had an extremely busy day, whether that's with the kids. I also have a day job. They have sports, they have all the things. And sometimes it is either 2 minutes of deep breathing in the car on the way to the next event that is going to get you to the next thing.
All right. So, a biggest fear introverts have, and even ambiverts have, so most of the time, is that facing people every day has become a very crucial part of the business today. Otherwise, you feel that you will get lost in the noise, and there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of content being pulled out, and face forward content. You need to build your personal brand and share your personal stories. So, how can introverts maintain their privacy as well as connect with people And what would be the best lead generation strategies for an introvert that could help them, not affect their own personality or their own mental health? Meanwhile, also getting leads and attracting people towards their business and getting clients.
Yeah. You don't have to share everything about yourself on social media. It's about creating a space that is going to feel good. You still get to share a piece of your story. It doesn't have to be all the nitty-gritty details behind it. There is still something that you can share to connect with your audience. And remembering the content that you put out is not for you, it is for your audience in your community, and understanding what they need to hear that day. And you don't have to show up every single day. That is not necessary at all. There are different ways for you to show up in the online space, whether that's email, podcasts, YouTube, these things, LinkedIn, all of these are longer format content that will live longer than if you feel the desire to show up every single day. And there's also different ways to show up on different platforms every day and not just posting. You can just comment for a little bit or send messages and connect that way through conversation.
What are some outreach strategies for introverts that you would recommend them to try out?
I would just start by searching keywords and then looking at their content and starting with comments and just going slow. These things are not needed to be rushed. And as well, understanding that when you show up too, you will attract people. But the outreach too is not being afraid to start a conversation. We can start conversations, and that way we can direct the conversation how we would like it. We are very good at having conversations, and so we need to lean into that when we're doing outreach.
So, what are the biggest challenges introverts face in business? And in your 7 years of experience and dealing with clients, what have you seen are the biggest reasons they fall back in business? And what advice would you like to give them?
I would say for introverts, we hold our own selves back and we sabotage ourselves by telling that, we fall into the imposter syndrome, into the comparison so easily. But when we can really ignore everybody else and focus on our own journey and focus on what we are good at and what our strengths are and how we can share that with others, because all we want to do is help people, then that is where the power is going to be. And that is what's going to propel you forward, instead of continuing to say, oh, well, I have to dance and I have to show up and I got to talk and I got to do all this. What are ways that you can do it that's going to fit you better? And then continuing to grow into maybe a little bit outside of your comfort zone. Introverts fall into the trap of comparison so often. And so if we can almost ignore that and really stick to our own journey, that is what's going to propel us forward, and understand that we can do it differently and lean into our strengths that we have identified and embraced, then that's going to build the momentum for us in our business, instead of going, oh, well, I have to do this to grow. You don't have to dance on reels or, whatever makes you feel uncomfortable. You can do things that will still help you grow.
Quiet way, the introvert way, they don't need to compete with extroverts.
Yeah. Exactly. We have so many different ways to express ourselves.
Apart from video marketing and coming forward, what are some other ways you would recommend? Because I also know you are on Substack. Also share to us about your products, how you offer services, and how's your experience at Substack and blogging and other ways of lead generation, in which you don't have to just come face forward and still you can conduct a very good business in today's world.
Yeah, so my Substack is for my podcast called Introverts Unmuted, where I really speak about introverts and how we can do things differently in this space and lead generation engagement, and how there are ways to communicate in this online space that are not going to burn you out and that are going to actually give you energy. Other ways email marketing is such a big piece because you can, email marketing and vlogging, which I do as well, are all amazing forms to bring in leads because they are long form content, they're written content, and many times that is also very helpful for us. As for my products, all of my coaching services are what I like to call asynchronous coaching. So they all either happen on Voxer or Telegram. There are no live calls to attend. This is for a few reasons, scheduling reasons, but as well, I find that that gives people, my clients, time to think and process the thoughts before they come back to them, and giving them that space to just grow and listen and lean into all of the coaching that happens.
I love your messaging style. I mean, I was thinking about it, and it's such a great idea that you have started. You are the first one I've heard who is offering message-based coaching.
I've done that a few times with my coaches, but it's always been in line with live calls. And I really felt that that's not how I respond to things. On the spot, asking questions right off the beat. I need space to time. I need space to think and really resonate with what they're telling me so that I can take action and come back. And so I was like, why am I still offering calls if I know that my clients also are feeling the same way? And many of my clients, they're moms, they work 9 to 5. Our schedules are very busy between clients and everything. And why you can still get coaching when you need it. I'm right there for you during that time.
Thank you so much for being here, Amber. And I learned so many things from you. And I'm sure everyone who has been up till now with us will learn a lot of things. And thank you so much for sharing your insights. In the end, what's one thing you would like to say, you would like to tell, you would like to urge for introverts to know, to implement in their business and their personal life that can have an impact?
Yeah, it's really just to embrace your strengths. Your introversion strengths are there for you, and you need to utilize them to propel your business forward. And that is where quiet leadership is going to take place for you, is in those moments of quiet.
Exactly. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
It was so great to be here. Thank you so much.